What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Void Vikings by Ugly Beard Games. This is a top-down 2.5D shooter, and I'm not rightly sure where the Vikings come into it. I mean, I guess the ships are named after sort of Viking characters and things, but beyond that there's not a lot. There's the weapons, they sound vaguely Viking-ish, the names of them, but honestly, I googled some of the terms. I don't think they exist. I think they made some stuff up. It sounds kind of vaguely Viking-esque, but I don't think it's real. Anyway, moving on, we shall have a look at some settings before we get into the game. We have audio options, music and sound effects on separate sliders. Good, although the music is crazy quiet, you might just be able to make out some very faint, spacey ambient stuff in the background if you listen very carefully. But, like, when you're actually playing the game in the heat of combat, you don't really notice it. I can't help but feel that could be a little bit louder, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe that's a design choice, but either way, it's just like, a lot of the time I'm playing it, I feel like there isn't any music. There is, but it's just, you can barely notice it. Under display, we have resolution options. It's Unity, so all the presets are in the Unity launch before you get into the game. You know, the standard drop-down thing. I don't know why the screen says I'm running it in both 1280 by 720 and 640 by 480. I'm blatantly not, and that seems rather impossible, so I don't know what's going on there. One thing I will note is there is no control over VSync. VSync seems to be on, and you can't turn it off, and I hate having VSync on. Most of the time the game runs at a solid 60, but if at any point it dips below 60, it immediately drops to 30 because thanks VSync. So occasionally it feels like there's performance issues when it's really just VSync, and I'd like to be able to turn that off, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it'd be nice to have that option. Anyway, we'll have controls. Controls can be rebound, but not to a gamepad. Normally that would be a cause for concern for me if a shooter doesn't have a gamepad support. That's kind of a red flag, really. However, this game does work pretty well with keyboard and mouse. In fact, it works really well with keyboard and mouse. Normally, I would not choose keyboard and mouse for a shooter, but in this instance, it does work. At the same time, it would be really nice to be able to use a gamepad. I don't feel like the game would work badly with a gamepad. I feel like it would still work well. So it would be nice to have that option, you know. But that's not there. So keyboard and mouse it is. Let us head on into things. We shall start a new game of Void Vikings. So far I have 2 ships available to me. Odin is your basic one. It's got a few abilities. Freya is unlocked at 50,000 points, for it's kind of a bit of an arcadey kind of deal. So once you reach a certain score threshold, you'll unlock Freya, who has different abilities. If we get 200,000 with Freya, which I've not yet done, we only unlock Skady, I think that says, and then there is Cert available later down the line if you go vote for the game on Steam Greenlight. That's promised once it releases on Steam. For now, I shall jump in with Odin, which is the basic default ship. You'll get a tutorial every time, but you don't have to do it. As you can see, it says press R to start pillaging. So we shall start pillaging as Vikings are wont to do. You get a selection of 5 systems, all kind of randomly generated sort of things. We've got Grus, which is casual. Fear dominates the psyche of the Grusians on Grus. You won't have any when facing them. All the way up to Epic, I don't know what that says, which is unknown. It is epic. I can tell you for nothing, if you're any way, shape or form familiar with shooters, normal is not terribly challenging. It may ramp it up a bit later, but early on it's pretty much a pushover. Hard is nicely challenging, and epic is close to instantaneous death. There are a lot of ships that will come at you very, very fast, and they will hit very, very hard, and you will be blown out of the sky in moments. Unless you're like crazy good at it, I presume. I presume it must be doable. I can't imagine they would put it in the game with the intention of it being completely and entirely impossible. I imagine you must be able to do it, but I can't. At any rate, I'm going to jump in on hard difficulty because that seems to be a good place for me. So we shall go fight some things. So top-down 2.5D shooter. We've got this sort of 2D plane that our ship will fly around in. Enemies will come towards us, and I can shoot them out of the sky like that. I've got a little radar in the bottom right, tells us where the enemies are coming in from. I didn't notice that one immediately. It was like, that took me a moment to notice it, so for quite a while I was getting ambushed from behind. So make a note, you do have a radar. It's not terribly visible because it's sort of semi-transparent, so it's purple on a purple background. So I wouldn't have noticed it immediately. I have an alternate weapon. If you right click, you've got a more powerful cannon thing. You've got limited ammunition for that, but that recharges over time. So you can see next to the radar, you've got a little ammo thing. It recharges pretty quick, but that varies depending on what equipment you have. So you can speed that up or slow that down depending on the guns and weapons and things you have. If I get close to these guys, I've got a blink and I've got an AoE thing. So E is blink, that will get you close to enemies or away from enemies, depending on how you want to effectively use it. We've got Q is a reflective shield, which can reflect attacks at the enemy, but they didn't seem inclined to shoot me there, so never mind. And then, yeah, space is just that AoE thing, which is pretty potent. Now, I can press R to go to the next battle, or this is probably the best time in the game to bring up your inventory. You can bring this up at any time in a battle, but it doesn't pause the game, so I wouldn't recommend it. If you bring this up in the middle of a battle, you will just get shot out of the sky. So you don't want to do that. At the end of a battle, you will have a look at your inventory screen. We have an upgrade on drives. All the basic equipment is pretty crap and can't be upgraded, so you're going to want to swap that out for something new pretty ASAP. So we have a Ganga drive, which is straight up 16 more maneuverability. It's a pretty basic drive as far as they go. It's just straight up better than my current one. So we'll upgrade that. So we have Void Armor, which gives us some buffs to our shield ability, a slightly longer duration, and a good chunk of cooldown on that, as well as just generally being better. So that's basically your health is what that is, so we'll pop that there and we'll have an extra 160 health. And we have the Duros Armor, which actually is not as good as that Void Armor, to be honest, because it is lower and doesn't have any stats. That doesn't seem very well balanced at all, actually, if I'm honest. But normally all the items in the game sort of fall into a few categories. Most Duros Armor are just pure armor stat kind of things. Most Ganga drives are pure maneuverability. And then you've got things, I don't have enough here to demonstrate, so I guess probably be worth moving on and trying to find some more stuff. But you can see you've got Void Armor and Duros Armor. They should have brought... If I find another Void Armor, be it of another level or whatever, it should have roughly similar stats. All these items, including the starting ones, can be melted down into upgrade units. Upgrade units can be used to upgrade things. So I now have 10 upgrade units. I really can't do anything with the OEM drive. However, we can add some more maneuverability to my Ganga drive, so let's do that. There we go. Got 3 more maneuverability. Sweet. On to the next battle. So the upgrades basically... they are never going to be as good as equipment that you find. So I've upgraded my Ganga drive to, what was that, level 10 I think that was. If I were to find another Ganga drive, one of these enemies that I shoot now, if I knock one of these enemies out of the sky and they drop a level 10 Ganga drive, that will be better than the one I've currently got. That's just the way the items seem to work. So the upgrades are nice, but you can't just keep infinitely upgrading and it's always going to be better than what you're finding. If you find stuff, you will be encouraged to swap out stuff and keep upgrading for new and interesting things. And there's a little bit of an interesting variety in there. You get a few different types of shields. I think by far and away the shields are some of the more interesting items because there's a few different types of shields. Oh, there's a Ganga drive. Speak of the devil. What is this one? It's got a rather nice weapon there. That is definitely far and away better than my OEM, which is a Hukja weapon. Hukja, I have no idea how you pronounce that. It fires a little bit slower, but not a lot slower. It does a heck of a lot more damage, and gives us a buff to our secondary weapon as well, so we're definitely going to want to equip that. Level 15 at this point, that's pretty powerful, actually. Let's melt the standard one down. The Ganga drive, level 9 is 111 maneuverability. That's just way better than my current one, so that gets melted down as well. I have 5 upgrade units. That's not going to do much for anything at all, actually, so we can move on to the next one. So let's hop to the next system. Each of the planets are the kind of levels that you pick, and then gives you a campaign of about 5 levels. You can see in the top right corner it says Lyra campaign. It is so we're on mission 3 of 5. Okay, that was pretty beastie. I was a little bit OP there. I'm going to want to get out of here. I've got some thrusters, and you can do a barrel roll. If I double tap left or right, I can roll to the side. And the thrusters, I don't know, they seem to be a little bit OP, I would have said. They just they go forever, which just allows you to outpace damn near everything. Some of those small craft occasionally seem to have a pretty potent boosty blink thing, I don't know, whatever. It allows them to close the gap, but they're also really tiny craft that are not very powerful. So, honestly... they aren't going to do much even if they catch up with you. So that tactic's kind of, I don't know, it feels broken and like it needs balancing. I think just some enemies that could possibly counteract that, or just maybe just limited fuel on that, would probably help things. There was an upgrade over here, but at the end of a battle they will all be magnetized towards you and you'll get them eventually. So there we go, we can have a look at these things. We have a new weapon which is lower level but more powerful actually. The Fliot weapons. I've been quite liking those when I found those. They are just like, they are the fastest firing weapon in the game. They've got a few nerfs in there, but again, that can be counteracted a little bit by upgrading it. It makes your cannon less effective and shockwave a little bit less effective there, but you get to carry more cannon ammo, and yeah, just the sheer fact that it fires at 1500 RPM is just pretty silly, to be honest. So it's not going to do much damage, but it's going to fire just so many more shots. And it gives you a nice summary at the bottom that says, on the whole, this weapon is going to do 0.7% more damage. So, you know what, I'm going to take it because I quite like those weapons. Even though it's a bit of a I feel like in some ways it's a bit of a downgrade, but again, there are some nice stats in there that force you to consider quite what you're going to what you're using. We have a striker shield, a Styrka shield, I think is what that is. We have that's actually fun, because I'm still using my basic shield. This is a massive upgrade there. I've got way more shields, a really nice shield recharge. However, it takes a lot longer to reboot. So your basic default shield recharge, if you stop taking damage, it'll take 2 seconds before your shields start coming back, at which point they're going to come back at 10 per second. These are going to come back at 56 per second, but it's going to take 3.5 seconds out of combat before it starts regenerating. There are other shields which have like really low shield values, but it's instantaneous recharge, which is quite a nice consideration. I've never been able to use those shields effectively, but I like the idea that they're there. We have a Nemel drive, which gives us a buff to our blink. Not that I use my blink very often, so I think I'd rather just take the maneuverability. So yeah, you can take a hit on maneuverability in exchange for just having a better blink. You can use the blink more often, and you will go further with your blink. However, that one gets melted down. That weapon, I'm going to hang around with that one. I'll keep that one on hand, and we'll head to the next battle. I don't know if I want that necessarily. So there we go. Because I've got the weapon upgrade, I've now got 37 secondary ammo in that, and that's how fast it fires, which is pretty crazy fast. So it's not going to hit fast, but well, it's not going to hit as hard, but it's going to hit crazy fast, and it's just going to chew through things, which is why I kind of like these weapons. I'm a fast weapon kind of guy. Whoop! I want to get out of there. So as I said, just the boosty evasive maneuver thing just seems to be really kind of powerful for getting away from anything and everything. That feels a little bit broken to me, honestly. It needs a tweak. I'm quite sure it does. There's very little in the game until you get into like epic difficulty, and even then it works to a certain extent. You can just boost away from everything and just escape it, and then just wait for your shields to come back and just kind of do a really cheesy hit and run tactic. So I've got a driver that I don't want, that gets melted, and I have 25 upgrade units, so we can drop some on our weapon. That's 400 damage, 425, yeah, that's going to be a nice weapon now, so let's head on to the next one. So the fifth one, it seems to be sort of fairly randomly generated, so the fifth one I think should have a boss in it, but I've seen some sort of level 5 sections that also don't have a boss in it, so it doesn't necessarily seem to be any guarantee. That does appear to be a big boss monster type thing. They've got a few abilities. They've got an AoE ability not dissimilar to my own. You do get that green pulse as a bit of a tell beforehand, so you know it's coming. Is there two of them? Oh, I'm going up against two bosses here. Huh, okay. Fine. So let's do that. My shields are going to get fried there, so let's hop on out of there. So as I say, I think a hit and run tactic is going to work pretty effectively. I guess you can shoot the missiles down, which is kind of nice. I don't have to just keep outrunning the missiles. I could shoot them. So, oh look, I've outranged everything. And then I can come back, throw down some more damage, do an AoE pulse. Let's pop my shields up while I retreat. He's going to do that, so I blink out. I've only really seen this boss variety, to be honest. It'd be nice to see more than one type of sort of mothership boss, whatever the heck this thing is. Let's do that, get that destroyed. That dropped quite a lot of upgrades, that's pretty nice. We'll be able to melt down some cool stuff at the end of this. Let's throw my reflect shield up, shoot through this. I'm completely out of secondary ammo. Fight all that. You can fire both weapons at once, which is cool. So you can just hold down both mouse buttons and just fire your primary and fire a ton of secondary ammo at them. So let's let my shields regenerate a little bit. Shoot that down. And you. And you. I've got some secondary ammo, so we throw that at them. Do that. Whoops, that was... I didn't mean to blink there. And I want to get out of there, because... Ow! Yeah, they're going to do a big AoE thing. So all the bosses kind of follow this same format. So it's a little limited. I'd like to see more. I mean, they're promising with the Steam update, if it gets greenlit, they're promising to add quite a lot more content to the game. They're promising more ships, more enemies, better AI, and better environments as well. So I do think, you know, with some tweaks and some upgrades, you could add a lot to this, and it'd be pretty cool. As it is, I think the fact that, geez, that's a lot of equipment. Let's have a peruse. We've got a shield that's... yeah, that's a fast charging one, but it's not what I want. I'd probably be best off just melting most of this down, I guess. That is similar to my current one, I guess. It's got better recharge rate, but slightly lower shield. And it's a higher level. Oh, we'll take that, actually. Melt the old one down. We've got a... what the heck is that? That's a buff to the cannon damage, but the primary weapon's not as good. We have... jeez. Craxis. I don't think I've even seen a Craxis. What's that do? Buff to shockwave damage, but slow cooldown on it. Cool. Oh, that's the crazy fast one. Yeah, only 134 shields, which is less than the OEM shield, but it's instantaneous charge and pretty reasonable. So that's going to fully recharge to full in 4 seconds, and it will instantaneously start charging, which is kind of an interesting thing. I'm not going to use it, but it's pretty interesting. So there's some cool stuff in here. I think most of this is going to get... boom, get melted. Right. Let's just upgrade my weapon because I'm crazy like that. There we go, 550. Cool. So that is the end of the Lyra campaign, so we move on to the next system. I think it just throws another system at you, and basically it is keep playing until you die, quite frankly. And something about this just doesn't quite work for me, insofar as if it had kind of an end goal, it could work, I think. But the fact that it's just keep playing until you die, but there's the really cheesy hit and run tactic combined with the ability to pick the difficulty every 5 levels. Means that it's, I imagine, if you were really dedicated, theoretically infinite, you could just keep playing on casual with hit and run difficulties. Maybe eventually it would ramp up to such a silly difficulty that you wouldn't get it, but I don't know, it just feels... it feels weird having an arcadey thing where every so often it keeps saying, how hard would you like the next level to be? How hard would you like the next level to be? Well, if it's going to be an arcadey score run thing, it should be kind of consistent, or should be working towards a kind of goal. I don't know. It's just a weird kind of thing that just doesn't quite seem to add up. I don't think it would be hard to make it work. I think a few tweaks, a few changes, certainly just to add a goal, I think would definitely make things more interesting for me. But at the moment, I don't know. It's a cool concept. I like the game. I like the gameplay. It's just not quite enough there, and a few mechanics just don't quite work at the minute. But there we go. Can I head on out of this? You can't get out of this menu, and you also can't open up your inventory on the screen. I feel like this would be a good screen to have your inventory on, and it just doesn't let you open it. It's like, if I'm going to be managing my ship, this would be a good time to do it. No, it doesn't let you do it. So literally the only time that you can and should open your inventory to actually manage stuff is just when everything in a level is dead. You also can't escape to the main menu here, which is also unfortunate. So yeah, whatever. Let's move on into Sigmonia. Can I quit here? If I can quit, I would like to show you exit to menu, yeah. Once you finish, once you die, because dying is finishing, dying is the end. You fight until you die. Vikings, I suppose. That's a bit Viking-y. You can go into upgrade ships. Depending on how far and how much progress and how much stuff you got, you will earn a glory figure at the end of your playthrough, and that glory can then be spent on permanent upgrades for your ships. So you can spend some points on upgrading the weapon systems. It's just a passive permanent, in this case 20% upgrade to weapons and skills, 20% to armor, and you can do... it's not a terribly compelling system, because it's just passive upgrades, but at the same time, it allows you to go back and do better and better and better. So it's kind of one of those, it's a little bit roguelite kind of progression, I suppose, in a certain kind of way, especially insofar as it's permadeath and then you spending points, so I suppose in many regards it's fairly roguelite. So it's encouraging you to go back and do better with your newly upgraded ships, which is cool. I think it could stand to be a little bit more interesting, but there you go. At any rate, that is mostly what Void Vikings has on offer at the moment. As I say, they're promising a lot more stuff once it gets through the Steam Greenlight process. At the moment, it is available for $1 on itch.io, and I believe they also have a free-to-play version on their website. So whether that's the same version or not, I'm not certain, because that doesn't quite add up to me having a version that they're selling for $1 and then a version that's just literally free. Not there's so much in that, it's a pretty cheap game to begin with, but there you go, there's the free version and the $1 version, for some reason. Anyway, I will put a link to the Steam Greenlight campaign in the description below, so you can go check that out and vote for it if you would like to see this on Steam. And I'm going to leave that there for now. So there you go, that was Void Vikings. It's an interesting concept, but I think it just needs a little something. But but it shows a lot of promise. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Meroka. I'll see you next time.